Welcome. Here we are in week 5. Glad to have you back again in class. This week we'll be looking at the important theme of God is love. And before we go into the discussions that we have, I want to just mention a couple of the assignments. One is you're having another exam this week, and I want to encourage you to be sure to look at the exam prep for that. Also, it's a non-graded assignment, but it's just another step in helping you in preparing your exegesis paper. You have a course project preparation with directions there found in the PDF file. So this is just really to help refresh you and keep you on track where it won't have everything being done at the last minute. Hopefully this will be a benefit to you. But I want to share the two threaded discussions with you just quickly today. One is concerning the witness, and the focus is on 1 John chapter 5, verse 7, and also it looks back at verse 6, and you see the agreement between the Spirit, the water, and the blood. And when you look back in verse 6 at where it is written, "Ithon de hulidos tos kai hoimatos," this meaning having come by water and blood. This is important because when you look at the ministry of Jesus, this is what this is referring to. This depicts the entirety of his earthly ministry. The ministry of Christ beginning with his baptism in water and then concluding with the crucifixion and the blood being shed on the cross. So as you look in this, be sure to share the important meanings and insights concerning the three that bear witness, the Spirit, the water, and the blood. Also, there is another threaded discussion that we'll be talking about this week, and in this is really the height of the whole writing of John, where he emphasizes that God is love, and I'm sure you'll read much about this. But this is so important. And I want to point out this awesome statement to describe God, that God is love. There are many attributes to God, and I've shared some of this in another class, but it's definitely worth repeating today because there is a great need for the world to see that God is love. He is not some bad creature that stands over the world ready just to smash you at anything you do wrong or at his pleasure or whatever that people may try to conjure up in their minds. But what happens is we try to think of God in our human understanding, and we divide God into different parts. As we know, there are many attributes to God. We know that God is righteous. God is a God of wrath. He is a God of mercy, a God of compassion, a God of power, a God of goodness, a God of severity, a God of wisdom, a God of knowledge, a God of peace, a God of truth, a God of comfort, and of course, a God of love. And in our natural mind, we think, well, how much of each one of these does God have? And how does surely love outweighs the other? And how can God show wrath, we ask, and yet still be loving? You know, when we counsel people or when we try to assess them in our minds, we find traits or attributes that are stronger and even dominant in some people, and some attributes that are lesser, or some may be absent in some people. That's natural in our human reasoning. But I would like to illustrate in a simple sense how God is all of these attributes and can be just in all of these in contrast to how we are as humanity. Now, most people think of God, you know, he is God, and he has different things within him. You know, so we'll think of him as, you know, well, God is this much wrath. That's how much God is. Oh, and he is this much. He is a God of power. And we think he has that much power. But yet he is a God of wisdom. And this much of God is wisdom. And then we think, oh, God is a good God. He is a God of goodness, and that's how much goodness he has. He is a God of truth. And we designate that he has this much truth, and we try to. He has this much severity in them, and that's how much we think of him. And on we try to divide him. When we think of God as love, we think of him as just one little part with all of these other attributes. But I would like to present to you to this today, that God is not divided. But God is God. He is 100% truth. He is 100% righteous. He is 100% of compassion. He is 100% of severity. He is 100% truth. And importantly for our lesson today, he is 100% love. We cannot divide God. And the answer for this question is, how can God be all this? Is that we cannot define God by our human reasoning. And so therefore God is all love, and we must accept that by faith, that God cannot be divided. You see, God is our source. He is the ultimate beginning and end and everything in between. He is creator, he is sustainer, he is the goal of our life. All events are of him and through him and for him, and therefore he deserves all the praise and glory. All the fullness dwells in him, and the God who made all things, and by whom all things consist and are held together, has all of these attributes in him, and they are not divided. Excuse my clock. God is not divided or less in any area. We can't think of God with human limitations. He's God. He is all of these things. And because he is all of these things, he has what we need. So when John says God is love, from beginning to end, throughout, the God who has no beginning and the God who has no end, he is totally 100% love. And because we have that truth, we know that God is love and God loves us. Enjoy week 5. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace.